What is going on, everyone? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, here with some PlayStation news. I've never talked about PlayStation on this channel because I own an Xbox One and a PC, so I've never really had the need to talk about PlayStation news. Whenever there's new games coming out that are amazing for the PS4, or whenever there's just random PlayStation news that might be of interest to PlayStation players or gamers, it just hasn't been of interest to me because I don't own the console. But now there is news that potentially is relevant to me as a PC owner. However, maybe not so much as an Australian, and I'll get into that. So the question for today's video is, do you currently subscribe to the PS Now service, and will you begin to do so once the service starts to include PS4 exclusive games? Please let me know in the comments. So in the description below, you're going to be finding a PC Gamer article that's entitled, PS4 games will come to PC soon via PS Now. The article starts by saying PS Now is a subscription service which allows you to stream PlayStation games to your PC or your PS3 and PS4. Right now, a monthly fee gets you access to over 400 PS2 and PS3 titles, with many exclusives among them, but soon it'll boast an unspecified number of PS4 games too. This is good news for anyone keen to play any of the high-profile PS4 exclusives in the console's catalog. Uncharted 4, Neo, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Knack count among them. That was a poor joke. Sony hasn't confirmed which games will feature in the PS Now selection, nor whether they'll necessarily be exclusives, but given the service's history, they'll likely make it there eventually. Currently, the best reason to subscribe is access to Red Dead Redemption on PC, and then they talk about whether it's worth it in their opinion. So this sounds great to me personally. Again, I own a PC, Xbox One's irrelevant, but a PC where PS Now is available that has currently access to all of these great PS2 and PS3 games, and very soon is going to have access to a bunch of PS4 games, and presumably they're going to contain a bunch of those really great exclusives that we see coming to the console. On many occasions on the Ham Radio podcast, I've made mention of how envious I am of PlayStation 4 players because they get so many great exclusives on the console, those of which when you actually go to Metacritic, for example, most of them are rated 80 or above by critics and very highly as well by the player base. And just to give some examples, whether it's The Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, Bloodborne, Horizon Zero Dawn, Neo, there are so many great examples of amazing, phenomenal games on that PS4 console that I just haven't had access to because I don't own a PS4, and I also didn't own a PS3 either. And I actually have a little bit of a funny story in that regard, because a friend of mine who I introduced to playing BioShock, when he finished it, he said to me, BioShock is my favorite game of all time. What an incredible experience. And then he bought a PS3 and played The Last of Us, and then said to me, I have a new favorite game. And it broke my heart like you have no idea. But the point being is that he was able to play this phenomenal game in The Last of Us that I've just never been able to play because I don't own a PS4 or a PS3, and I can't personally justify the investment because currently I just don't really have the time to play more games. I've got a huge back catalogue on my PC and also my Xbox One, so I can't just justify shelling out the $400 to $450 that it costs to buy a PlayStation 4 in Australia at the moment. So yes, this PS Now service is incredibly attractive to me because potentially I'm going to be able to gain access to these amazing PS4 exclusive titles that otherwise I would not have access to. And also as well, it's up my alley. Even though I live in Australia and generally Australians have pretty poor internet, I'm one of the fortunate ones that actually does have great internet here. If you go to the description below, you'll find a link to a Gizmodo article which actually lists the recommended specs for your PC and also for your internet speeds if you want to be able to run PS Now properly. And apparently Sony recommends you having at least a minimum of 5 megabits per second in terms of your internet speed down. And I have about 100, so that's pretty good for me personally. I also have 40 up, which is why I'm able to stream and upload videos very fast onto YouTube. So yes, I'm one of the fortunate ones in Australia that does have fast internet speed. So this PS Now service would run pretty well for me, it seems. And to be able to gain access to all those great PS4 games just by paying $20 a month or whatever the equivalent is in Australia, that's something that I would do in a heartbeat once this system starts to roll out. However, there is a bit of a roadblock for me, also as an Australian, and that's because the PS Now service is not available in Australia. I believe it was launched 2 years ago for North America and I believe Europe as well. And currently the PS Now is servicing those two territories, but we haven't seen it launch in Australia. And the reason is obviously clear, right? I mean, most Australians have pretty bad internet, as I've outlined. I mean, many people still have ADSL 2, some people have ADSL 1. Some people that are under our great brand new internet, the National Broadband Network or the NBN, still have relatively average speeds compared to the rest of the world. And I'll explain why that is. For example, my apartment has a fiber connection directly to the apartment. So that's why I'm able to get 100 megabits per second down and 40 up. Whereas other people would only have fiber connection running to the node in their street, and the remaining cable to the actual house or to the apartment itself would be the regular copper wire that we've been using for decades for our phone services. So that's why internet speeds for even people under the brand new Australian NBN still tank and are relatively low, on average 25 megabits per second down, because it's still utilizing old copper network and not direct fiber to the apartment, which I have. But that's obviously why we don't have PS Now in this country, because the majority of Australians simply don't have fast enough internet speed to be able to run PS Now properly. It does say 5 megabits per second, but I'm going to assume you need at least 10 to be able to run it at a good quality and with good frame rates. And not many people actually have that in Australia, particularly in metropolitan areas such as Sydney and Melbourne, which the plans for rolling out the newer faster internet, I say faster in quotes, has just been announced for the next 3 to 4 years. So there are still people waiting about 3 to 4 years to get access to that faster internet, a lot of which won't actually have direct fiber to the house or the apartment like I have, because that was under the old government, and when the new government came in, they axed that scheme for the cheaper and less fiber reliant one. So that is a bit of an Australian context for you. Again, I'm really excited for PS Now because I'm going to be able to play all these great PS4 exclusive games, potentially anyways, and I've got a pretty good PC that's going to be able to run it, and I've got a pretty good internet that's going to be able to run the streaming fairly well. It's just not available in Australia. Maybe if I use a VPN to Europe or North America, I'll be able to do so, but imagine the lag on that. I don't know if it's going to work. But let me know your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, Wastelanders. What do you think about the PS Now service now incorporating PS4 games? Is this going to entice you, if you are on the PlayStation 3, 4, or even on a PC, to subscribe to this service and pay a monthly fee to gain access to PS4 games? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.